It's inspiration. Dream a fantastic dream.
Fireworks everywhere.
Fireworks. Imagine fireworks. Fireworks. We go. Dun, 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 dun. We thought that we'd bring you a little
Someone's
bit
in
of
a
Disney
great
magic.
mood today.
That felt right, right? It felt phantasmic, if anything, for me. Hey
Welcome,
everybody,
everybody.
what's up? Welcome to Adobe Office Hours. My name is Andrew Hochradel over here.
I'm Nick Longo. What is
That's
up,
right.
everybody?
Nick, what's your middle name?
Thomas.
My middle name's Thomas too. I think we have talked about
Dude.
this.
Yeah,
Thomas
I
and
love it.
Thomas.
Thomas.
So welcome back. Whoop whoop. Yes. Hello everyone. Nice to see you here. Ariana's here. Giotima. Lots of familiar faces. I do want to make one announcement as we get started. Actually, I want to make two announcements.
Uh-oh.
Right? One, if you were our winner last week, we are missing one of our winners. We cannot find them. We cannot contact them. They have vanished into the ether of
Oblivion.
obscurity. Yeah. So if you are one of our winners, I believe it was Sahara. If you are here, send me a DM on Behance, comment in the chat, let us know, and we will do that. Second announcement. Nick, if people are seeing our lovely, gorgeous faces
Yes.
on YouTube, what are they doing wrong with their lives? What
They
decisions
should
have
be
they
coming
made that
over
we're
to
disappointed?
Behance 100%. Better
Yes.
experience overall. Get us on chat there.
It
We'll
is.
say hello. Come on
Yes.
over.
Yes. So tomorrow we'll be on Behance. We're on Behance right now. Come over. I like went full on into like here's what we're talking about. Yeah. So come over to Behance. Behance.net/live. BEHANCE. That's the place to be. So if you're just joining us, Nick, what's office hours? There are a lot of familiar faces here. It is a
Yeah.
Friday that's off, so these people probably know. But let's recap for our friends.
Yeah, if there's anybody here joining us for the first time, Office Hours has become a nice little Friday get together of designers, really. We started it as a way of kind of giving you guys some extra advice and inspiration to get through either your job or looking for a job or your schooling, giving you all good kinds of homework and stuff. And we've just built a really cool syllabus throughout the whole semester. Including today's episode. So
Yes,
yeah,
today's gonna be really fun. And this is not Minecraft music. This is a mix for Adobe Live. There's 2 hours of music, and it's just like a vibe. Like we just vibe here.
I wish I could hear it.
I know. I need to figure
get
out.
in the zone.
Yes, I need to figure out a way to like get it through to your headphones as well. All right. Actually, I probably could do that pretty easily. So. Yes, Nick, what are we talking? Actually, sorry, I have more announcements. Nick, what's floating below us? You can't see, but I'm gonna make you guess.
I would bet it's our Discord channel.
It's close. Our Discord channel, hold on. Our Discord channel is now floating next to us.
There we go.
And in our Discord, it's a great community to get involved. Hey, look, there are faces. This is a place where you guys can talk to each other. You can get connected. There are awesome opportunities in here to introduce yourself, find some social media friends, ask for advice, and even just, I don't know, get connected, level up your careers, and take the next steps that you need to take. It's just a great resource. So over here, bit.ly/fall semester-al. Thanks for the link, Cody. Just click that link, join our Discord. And if you're in our Discord, just go over in the Discord and just leave an emoji. Any emoji you want. I'm sorry for whoever's moderating this. We're going to make a little bit of noise in there. Go put an emoji. Go put an emoji in Discord. Let us know that you're in there. Oh, look at all the little hearts. Click. Oh, cute. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and hop into what we're talking about today. Nick, what is our topic today? Let us know what it is and also maybe a little overview of what we're talking about.
Yeah, we wanted to get a list of some great overall inspirational things that we use on either a daily basis and even some stuff that has kind of inspired us throughout our career or even how we got into creativity and this creative industry. But some good stuff. I think we have great combinations of stuff put together here to help give you guys some maybe go-to places for inspiration, new ideas, I mean, that happens almost weekly basis, don't you? Like, I'm always looking for something new when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about that. Inspiration's much more like hunting than it is kind of passive. And Nick, I think that your mic switched to your headphone mic. Can you try to switch back over to your Yeti and see what happens?
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Yes. Stephen Overturf. This is not my first time. I know. We know, Stephen. We got a lot of regulars here.
Yeah, he's trying to play off like he's the first time.
It's true.
Exactly.
I'm new. It's not a sub. Can we have a sub one week? Like, as much as I love doing the show, I think it would be so much fun to just have a sub and like put somebody in and be like, hey, teach our class, please. All right. So today we are talking about inspiration, and at the end of class we have something very exciting for you today. We are doing show and tell. I don't think we've done show and tell before other than looking at portfolios. What we want you to do at the end is give us what inspires you. So be thinking through that, maybe grabbing a link, grabbing a name of an artist that you really like, someone that inspires you, and we want to showcase them at the end of this episode. And we also want you to tweet them, post them, DM them, and thank them for inspiring you. Let them know. It's very much a nice thing to know that you're inspiring people. So at the end of the class today, we'll be talking a little bit about that, which will be
excellent. Cool.
All right. Oh, that's much better. Nick, can you just talk a little bit about, actually, can you just get us started and talk through maybe our first slide, and I'll gauge your audio as we go?
Perfect. Yeah. It's the good one's unplugged and I'd have to do a whole thing, but I just switched over to another one. Is it better? Is that good for you guys?
Yes, it is good to go.
Cool. All right. Are we ready to go?
Yes. Oh, it is. Yes, it's good for now. It's getting a little weird, so we'll vibe it out. Again, if you've never been office hours,
when you take the next slide, I will try to plug it in.
Love that. Yep. All right, cool. So let's talk first about inspiration, and here's the definition of what inspiration is. This is like the stereotypical opening to a speech, bad speech.
I'm going to do this right now, so keep going.
Cool. Inspiration is the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something, especially to do something creative. So we're going to talk a little bit about this in a second, but inspiration is really not about taking in, it's about putting out. And so it also can be a sudden, brilliant, creative, or timely idea. An inspiration. I had an inspiration is just an idea, something creative. So that's what inspiration is by definition. It's also this kind of ethereal idea in the creative industry that can encompass a lot of things. So let's hop in and talk a little bit about this idea that inspiration is only beneficial if it inspires action. Nick, have you ever had times where you're like, oh man, I'm so inspired by that, and then you just like don't do anything?
Yeah, because like I think sometimes it might not be, it's all about timing too. Like you might get it and like that's great, but it's not needed at this moment. So but many times I think, and then you go back to try to remember it and you can't.
Exactly. Yes. And so it is very much something that inspiration can exist as just like, I don't know, I feel inspired, but it's beneficial when it inspires an action. When you take whatever that is and you're going to apply it to your creative process, whether you're going to make something new out of that, inspiration really is about what you do with it, because we're surrounded by inspiration, and if it all sits around us, then like, what's the point? And Nick, is inspiration a part of your process when you're like getting into design?
Yeah, especially if it's something maybe I am not too familiar with, or it's something new for me. Let's say it's like a new product that might not be in my wheelhouse, or something that I've ever used or done, so like you do have that experience kind of thing and inspiration. You've got to look for some stuff that's like, what is a consumer of that thing very inspired by? So like, yeah, you look it up very differently every single time,
Yeah,
that's why there's no
absolutely.
one good place for anything. It's like, it is that journey of finding the next great thing.
Yep. And here's a question for you. Where in your process is the inspiration kind of process?
Oh gosh, I think it's the first thing, because like, I don't even want to get started into anything until I have gotten inspired enough to know even where to look, right? Like, it might even be watching some YouTube video of people, let's say it's a new kind of food product, and it's people loving this idea of a certain benefit of that food. I'll look up something on and just see what's their passion about. What's gonna like push their buttons, you know? So
absolutely.
then you know what to look for.
Yeah, and hello, Victor. Victor is in
No
our
way.
in chat. We love
What's up,
Victor,
dude?
everyone. And we're talking about thanking creative heroes. Victor's, I think, on both of our lists.
Love that guy. Yeah,
Victor
thanks for
is
joining, bro.
Yeah, top tier. And the reason I asked where it was in your process is because, right, if we're talking about inspiration, inspiring action, so many people have this at the beginning of their process, and it's so important because it is that catalyst for like what comes next, right?
Yeah.
You look at all these things, and if you don't do that, it's kind of like, okay, let's just stumble through the project. But taking inspiration, you then are picking the pieces, right? And you have that feeling after the inspiration phase that you're like, oh my gosh, I have to do these ideas now. It really like pushes you to start that action. So it's so important. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how to be inspired. So inspiration is not a product. We're going to talk about that more in a second. Inspiration is not a product, it's a mindset. Being aware and seeking out inspiration will result in finding it. Right? Yeah, I like that one. I was like, ooh, tweet that one.
Yeah.
Because there have been so many times that I travel abroad or, are out for a day and I'm just like taking a walk. And there's a difference between taking a walk and looking to be inspired, right? You can do the exact same thing, but if you change your mindset and you're aware that inspiration is there, and it will, if you're trying to find inspiration, it will happen. It's not something that is a scarce resource. Have you ever had like a moment where you've been looking for inspiration and found it in like a weird place? You're like, wow, why is this inspiring
every time?
right now?
Sometimes it could be in a random store or like you're right, or a new area. I think even if it's a neighboring city, it doesn't even have to be like some distant off land, but someplace you've never been, or a park or a place you've never been. You see something and you kind of go, wow, like that's totally different than what I'm used to. Make note of it, do something very cool about it, or capture it. Like, to me, that's one of the best things about having the phone around all the time is I do that. I take snapshots of branding and packaging everywhere I go, because I'm like, I might not see that again, or it might not be something we have, or I'll ever see it in our stores, So yeah, all the time.
Yep. And I think that that's the thing that when you're looking for inspiration, I think that we've talked about this before on the show, the difference between something being wrong and something being different. I think you go in with the mindset of let's find something different. And then those things that you come along that you're like, oh, this is wrong. It's just like, oh, this is a different experience. Let me take this in and kind of figure out like what is interesting about this. What's different? How am I kind of getting this? And Audra says, I literally feel like my inspiration spiked to great heights after Max. I've literally found so many projects that I want to tackle lately.
Totally.
Yes.
And having it all on demand that way was like so great to see. Like, I think I got to admit and I'm even wearing my Max sweatshirt.
Nice.
The last few times of being there live, you just walk away and you're like, I'm not doing anything creative.
Yes.
You gotta, if there's one thing that can really get you going, is other people's passion for what they're doing. Or what's great too is when you see like someone that's not in your discipline, a photographer, a sculptor or something, and you hear their backstory and you're like, oh, this is, just keep going. This is the kind of stuff I'm here for.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second, of being inspired by things that are outside your discipline. I once at Comic-Con got to... Sorry, there was a very weird noise outside my window. One year at Comic-Con, I got to escort around an artist, and he is an artist that builds sculptures out of Lego. Like talking to him and hearing how he talked about Lego, I was like, dude, you are so passionate, and you have found so many ways to like reinvent the idea of Lego. And it was just super inspiring to be like, man, he has the same thing that he works with all the time, but has found so many ways to use it. So inspiration can come from anywhere.
That is true. Yeah.
All right. Moving along. Can I use the arrow keys? No is the answer to that question. So this is the takeaway that Nick was just talking about. Be inspired by everything, especially things that are outside of your practice. Nick, is there anything that you go to that is outside of just like design that you get inspired by?
I'd say non-design podcasts. I'd say non-design books or events where it typically catches you by surprise. Like, you're not saying like, let me go to this person because that might be an inspiring event. It could be just something you agree to go to, or I think of it like as like going to something like is so out of your wheelhouse, you'll say, I'll just deal with it. But you wind up going, whoa, I did not expect to get so much inspiration from something that I don't know anything about.
Yep.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Love.
It's so weird, the like breadth and like the things that can surprise you.
Yeah.
When you're like, okay, I just want to try this new experience. Like, let's give it a shot. And then that becomes the source of inspiration. You're like, I would have never connected these things together. And somehow it has, because I was open to being inspired by everything.
Yeah.
And yes, Justin Roy, that's such a good point. Check out your Behance live streamers. So many great people live streaming. Absolutely. There was someone on just before us that was here.
Doing fresco, hand lettering.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can follow, I don't know, like me, if you want. I stream on my own time at 2. It's usually like late at nights and on like Sunday afternoons, on times that you don't really want to hang out. But I'm here to hang out if you want to do that. Or if you're in Australia.
I love it.
If you're in Australia, it's the middle of the day for you. So
perfect timing for our Australian
I have
mate.
just splashed water all over my face. All right, let's continue on as I clean myself up. All right, here's a list of just random things for you to Google. I'm not going to give you any kind of explanation of these. I'm not going to give you any direction with these. Take a screenshot, and throughout the next week, just like Google these things and see what comes up. Explore them, follow the rabbit trail as far as it goes, and see if you can get inspired. These are all things that are outside of the realm of design. And who knows, you might find something new and interesting.
Yeah, especially if it's not something you technically look up or know about, you know?
Yes.
Some of these things, like, I think I might have to look up the French tuck.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you know what the French tuck is.
I think I know what it is.
Yes, so everyone go Google those in your spare time. Check it out and just be inspired. Some of it's music, some of it is just random stuff, but there may be color schemes that you get out of there. There may be like emotions that are conveyed that are interesting. These are all things that, again, outside of the realm of design, but you can still get inspired by them.
Totally.
And nice, a lot of people are saying they have their favorite Behance streamers. If you guys have a streamer that you like,
place it in chat.
Yeah, put it in chat. Put their name in chat, and people can look on Behance and follow those people, because it'd be really cool to have a nice little catalog of Behance streamers to follow. And yes, carnivorous plants. Yes, a lot of these people are super into that. Love it. Cool. Screenshots are good.
That's great.
All right, continuing on, and we talked about this earlier. Inspiration isn't the product. Nick. Okay, this is going to be confession time between Nick and I. I'm probably going to confess to this too. Have you ever had something that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so inspired by this, and then you finish like making something and you're like, oh no, I just remade that?
Yeah, you're like, and you even put it away and you're like, I don't want to look at it. And your end result looks almost identical to it, right? Yes. Like, and I, as on the flip side though, this whole week working on something that was really inspired by something, but this is one of the ones, you know, when you sometimes that you don't show the client some inspiration stuff because you want to hold it a little closer to you. You show them some great stuff, but you hold a few back for yourself. But one of the ones I showed the client became the one that they really liked. And I've been working on it all week. And I got to say, it has all of the elements of the inspiration of it. And yet it is night and day different. So there's sometimes I love when it works. So for all the 1,500 times I copied something, I finally had one success.
Yes, agreed. So yeah, don't simply be inspired by something and then make that thing. It's great if you're trying to learn to find something and then remake it and build exactly that thing. But if you're being inspired, again, inspiration is about taking action, and that action needs to be pushing things forward, having new thoughts, and kind of generating what that inspiration is, but as if you were saying it. Mercurial Forte says, favorite streamers, Wade Acuff. Yes, Wade Acuff is probably my number one as well. Cody Bear, Sam Peterson, Sarah, I can never pronounce her last name. But yes, those are some of the... Kulini? Yeah. Kulini. Yes. Ryan Selvey is also a great one. Love Ryan. Yes, go follow those whoever's you're seeing in chat. Go follow those people on Behance because they are great sources of inspiration, especially Wade. I freaking love watching Wade Acuff work because it's just so insane the way that he works. It's so outside of my brain. So go check that out. So yes, use inspiration to reinterpret through your perspective. It's basically taking what exists and how would I say that? How would I change that over? And Nick, we've talked about this a couple times. How would you describe your perspective when it comes to design? Like if you're taking an inspiration, what's like, I know I'm going to run it through X, Y, and Z filters. Do you have like a process for that? I know it's like an on the spot question.
Yeah, like I guess I would say like I specifically look for inspiration based on either technique or style or vibe and kind of copy, like story and lines and words and editorial. So like I'll look more specifically that way. So I'm not going to look for just anything and say let that be the cornerstone of what I'm doing. I kind of divide it into certain things. And I would say technique's becoming a big one now, because particularly with streaming and seeing other people work, I think seeing other people's techniques is something you can definitely get inspiration from, but you're not technically copying them with anything because you're doing your own work with it.
Yep, exactly. Yep. I feel like my process usually starts with like, okay, let's get the inspiration or whatever. And then I figure out like, how can I ruin this? Like, yes. I think there's something about my like process of like, I like to tear things and kind of like, how do I take this idea and like destroy it, but then rebuild it as something else? Inspiration to me is a very like destructive thing, which I think is cool that you can, there's no one way to do inspiration, right? You don't have to like gather a Pinterest board and be like, okay, so this is the mood that I'm going for. You can be like, okay, cool. So here's the inspiration, but like literally the opposite of this. Like this is just an inspiration board of like the things that I don't really want, but then there are aspects that I do, and then just like smash it together. Inspiration doesn't have to really work one way. And yes, Kyle Webster. Yes, we're gonna give a special shout out to Kyle Webster because after this week, so this week we have office hours, which is happening right now, and then next week we are off for Thanksgiving, and the week after we have a little announcement to make, and that is that we are moving back to 2:30. So we're moving back to our 2:30 time. At 12:04 is when that starts. At 1 o'clock, Kyle will be doing his masterclass. So if you come back to this time, it will be Kyle Webster, and you can tell him hello from office hours. We love him, and then come back at the actual time at 2:30 to hang out with us. And someone just said something interesting in chat. Where was it? Okay, flowers and sculptures inspire me. We are actually going to talk about that a little bit today because they inspire me as well. And yes, Steve, Wade does have an IMDb page. He has worked on some big movies. Cool. All right. So let's continue on. Inspiration is an eternal and always renewing resource. And what I mean by that is like something that I am inspired by, right? I take that inspiration, I create something, and then Nick sees it, and then Nick's inspired by the thing that I'm created and creates something new, and then he creates it, and then someone else is inspired.
Did that mean it went viral? Did it go viral?
Yes, it went viral. It is viral inspiration, yes. Victor. Yes, Victor has advice. Victor, give as much advice as you want.
Yes.
A good way to avoid copying is to seek inspiration from things other than similar work that you're going to work on. Yes, instead of looking at artists and then draw flowers, check out that florist. Yes, I love that we're talking about florists because florist is on my list of inspirations. I'm so excited. And I also just ordered flowers for my mom. Everyone go order your mom's flowers. Don't go home for Thanksgiving.
Do that right now.
And go order your mom some flowers because she'll love them. Moms love flowers.
Very nice.
Also, inspiration doesn't always result in what you think it is going to. Try to let it surprise you.
That's the best.
Yes, Nick, do you have any stories about this or any perspective on this? Tell us about it.
I remember like being somewhere and knowing this project I was working on, and I took out my phone and I was snapping some shots. I used the shots that I used, the texture I got from something, and I was like, that's exactly what I was looking for. Like I was ready to buy a ton of filters and things and whatever. Here I had it all on my phone, all ready to go. And it became the major backdrop of the entire branding and everything else. So little things like that. I mean, I couldn't have planned for that. I think it's just, like you said, it's by surprise. It's so cool.
Yep. Something that I thought was super interesting. Moms love flowers. Yes, you can quote me on that 100%.
Yeah.
Something that someone showed me once that I got so inspired by and then got so surprised. They had this piece that had this amazing texture on it, and it was like the perfect amount of like tiny grit. Like it was like really fine texture, like like most amazing. And I was like, how did you get that? Like, this is so inspiring. And I'm like trying these different ways to like get that same effect or whatever. And then I find out, okay, get this. What they did is they took black construction paper and they put salt on it and then took a picture and then used that and I was like, that's amazing. And so I had never thought about texture being physical, right? Being like, oh, I'm going to take something physical and then take it into this digital to make the texture. I'd always try to make digital textures. And so really then I started, I started experimenting with like, what's it look like to like smudge pepper on a paper? What does it look like to scan in like different spices, and started like literally like cooking with texture. And it was this surprise to me that was so much fun and so fulfilling. And also had these textures that I just hadn't seen anywhere. And so sometimes something simple like that ends up being this huge exploration that you end up getting super into, and it's very creatively fulfilling.
Yeah. I love seeing that too. I've seen a few artists that I love that everybody, when they share their work, they're also sharing, you know, we always say share your process, but I'd seen a bunch of artists showing hands-on stuff and then turning it digital, very similar to what you're saying, right? And that dawned on me, and it was one of those ones as well on a recent project where I did 90% of it on the floor of my garage, cutting out crap and doing all this stuff. And then it became all digital, and now it's used on packaging. So again, like, I think the other thing too is like your media as well, what you are using for this stuff could be, don't go digital route all the time. Get your hands dirty a little bit and try something different.
Yes, which being inspired by everything, like you can be inspired by like the spherification of like sauces, right? If you're watching like MasterChef or something, you're like, oh my gosh, they're doing like alchemy to create these crazy things. How can I use chemicals in my design process? Like what? How crazy would that be?
It never ends. It never ends.
And yes, Rose, sand dunes have so many textures and patterns. Ooh. Agreed. Oh, I love going to the sand dunes.
That's a great one.
All right, so continuing on, let's get in, and we're going to show you some things that we get inspired by daily, some resources that you guys can check out, you can note. My goodness. Put on some lists for yourself, and we're going to go through, show you a whole bunch of things. This is for you to screenshot, so I will leave them up on the screen quite a bit. Check them out. Nick, take it away.
First one. My biggest inspiration, that is probably the first thing I check almost every morning, being branding and packaging centric, is the Die Line. To me, it's one of the best online resources for not just packaging. I think that's where they started and got their niche in, but it's really a great graphic design hub for everything. It's also got a great little community in there. I think you can click on the community tab. If you do packaging or branding in any way, you can register your company and your services or your freelance services on there. I have gotten some work through that as well, which is great. People go looking at it as a great resource. But what I love too is they talk a lot about the trends, and particularly when something is made it to a certain point, maybe time to like not look at it and go to something totally new and cool. So I'm a big fan of places that really, really give you more than just a blog. Like, I want some opinion. I think sometimes that's always good to get too. Trends in like material choices, sustainability, all that kind of stuff. I'm finding resources on there as well of people who are printers and packaging manufacturers. So it's this perfect hub of not only inspiration, but full on connectivity and community.
Yes. Sweet. And yes, Celeste, we'll look at that at the end of the class today. We'll take a look at some other inspiration. So I made a note of that Instagram account, we'll check them out. So when we get closer to the end, we'll ask you guys to do some show and tell and give us your inspirations, and we'll check those out. So for me, one of my daily inspirations, and this is a classic, like I've probably been going here for like at least 10 years, Abduzidu. Have you ever been to Abduzidu? Have you ever heard of Abduzidu? Okay, cool.
Yes.
So I feel like Abduzidu was the original design website. Like I think it was like the first in my brain. I used to go and do their tutorials all the time and be like, oh my gosh, I'm learning like new techniques and like how to make milk and letters. Yeah, I'm like so professional, like glowing type. Oh my gosh, look at this. So Abduzidu is a really great resource to go in. It's much more streamlined now. They still do have tutorials. They have great little write-ups, and they have really good features. I feel like Abduzidu is really good to get exposed to new artists that you like. This is, I think, where I found James White, where I found, oh gosh, 500 pixel?
Mm-hmm.
That's a person, right?
Yeah.
I always get him mixed up with No Pattern. That's who it is.
Oh, Chuck. Yeah.
Yes. I think I found both of them when I was in design school on Abduzidu, and like James has become my favorite designer. I mean, it's no secret. You all know that I love James. And so it's crazy how some website that you're just like, oh yeah, I just check in every now and then, and like, oh hey, look, there's this cool thing I like on there, and you like put it on your Pinterest, and then it turns into something that's like, oh yeah, my literal favorite designer is because I just stumbled upon and wasn't looking for specific inspiration, but now I've been continually inspired by him for years and years and years because I was having the site to look for inspiration.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Nick reads books.
I'm going off the design track right here. I'm going off the creative track, but we all need some information and insight and resources to big things that you're doing either in life, decisions in your career, better workflow process, whatever it is. This is one of my favorite books, and it is a huge one. This one is like, you can see the picture there. It's called Tools of Titans. It's by Tim Ferriss, and it's his only book that is much more of a guideline. You can go to it and find specific things, look at it, read it, put it away. You don't read this cover to cover. You go into it like it's almost an encyclopedia. And the cool thing about it, you open this up, you look up anything that you're trying to overcome. Maybe it's speaking in public, maybe it's putting yourself more out there on social media. He has interviewed like 500 of the biggest billionaires, icons, world-class performers, and everything from athletes to CEOs. And they give you their tips on how they either start their day, what their morning rituals are. I love stuff like that. Like someone starts their day off with like, a shot of coffee with this or whatever. And they made it this like incredible morning elixir that starts their day. And I'm like, I have to try that. So to me, I love this because it is a resource guidebook, not one of those like read cover to cover kind of things. This dude's one of my favorites. I got to meet him in Las Vegas at a convention one time, and he's the nicest dude. It was so interesting to like meet your favorite author. Like, I'm not a reader. I've probably said this 1,000 times. It takes a lot for me to get a book and say like, I'm going to read it. Yeah. But this dude, man, he's an incredible guy.
That's awesome. I want at some point in my career for someone to be like, Andrew, what's your morning routine? You're always so chipper on camera. And for me to be like, I woke up this morning at 9:30. I rolled over in my bed and I ordered Chipotle before they were even open. I just scheduled it because I knew that I would want it later in the day, and that's how I start my mornings.
Make a note of that.
Yes, that's it, everyone. That's the key to success.
I'm glad she mentioned that. It's on sale for about $20. I think for a long time there, it was even available at Costco. But Amazon's a perfect way to get it. I love the brightness of this thing. You keep this on your desk, and it's one of those books you will always go to for some really great resource. So make a note of it.
Yes, I'm holding this up because this is Meg's History of Graphic Design. So this is my book recommendation. This is, and it's not like, yes, it is in the realm of design and creativity, but here's the thing. This book has like everything you want to know about the history of design. It is very like European white dude designer focused, which is kind of lame, but it does give you a good kind of smattering and a good foundation for where we have come from and how visual languages work. And yes, Celeste, that's your textbook for the class. That's probably going to be a good class. Pay attention, invest in it. I taught this class. I taught this class for 7.5 years. And it's one of my favorite books. I go back all the time and reference it when I think about like, oh man, I want to do something that's like very blocky and strong, and I'm like, oh, Distigal. I want to look back at Distigal style, and I can go back and read about the context, about what was happening during the time that movement was going on. What was the idea behind the movement other than like, I like the blocky letters, right? That maybe you look at Art Deco, right? And you're like, oh, I like that everything's like geometric and like sharp, so I'm going to do a design that's geometric and sharp. And you're like, but why was it that? Like, what was happening in culture that made people attracted to the golds, to those kind of geometric patterns, and you start to understand the concept, and then maybe you can tweak it and apply it better to how it applies today. And so this is just like knock out of the park. Get this book, even if you're not going to read it. If you're working on a project and you get inspired by a time period, just look up that time period and read that chapter. Because it is, yes, very, very important to know why things work the way they do, because you may just do something and be like, yeah, this is how we do it. If you don't know why, it's probably in this book.
Perfect.
Yes, Aaron Holt.
I love that. Adding millions of things.
Yes.
Get it, Aaron.
It's fair. Wait till next Friday. Black Friday deals, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, hey, you're right.
There you go.
Good point.
Yes. Oh, let's do this. Hey, Mom. So I'm going to send you this episode once we're done with it. And this is my Christmas list. These things are my Christmas list. You need to know. If anyone needs to borrow this, just clip this right here. Hey, the person who sent you this wants the things that we're about to talk about. They want this book called Tool of Titans by Tim Ferriss, and also Meg's History of Graphic Design, and the things that we're going to talk about in the next 5 minutes. So
there you go. And some of them are even free. But ask
some of them are even free. That's true. All right. Continuing on, Nick. We got another one from you.
So I've got a great podcast for you guys to listen to. Totally undesign related, but very much inspirational, self-improvement, all that kind of stuff. It's called Born or Made. And to me, this guy brings on, his name's Michael Chernow, and he brings on some of the biggest names that have started businesses, run businesses, reinvented themselves, found success by working hard. And what it is it's a whole conversation between nurture versus nature. And I'm obsessed with it now, because it's like I didn't understand what that meant until listening to a bunch of these. We've talked about it a few times, right? And it's this idea like, were you born successful or made successful? And you hear some of these people's stories, and I got to tell you, you will walk away and go like, okay, I'm going to slay it today, because like I needed to hear that. And sometimes it's not so much you need inspiration for creativity, but you just need inspiration to just get to work, you know, and continue the grind. And I love some of these people have been so transparent in their struggles and what they've gone through and how they've overcome it. And then you say to yourself, okay, I can't complain. All I got to do is open up my Mac today and get working.
Yep.
You know?
Also, I think that he's wearing Uggs in that cover art.
Oh, is he? Yeah.
And it's like, dude, it's a move. It's like a move and a half.
It's a move. Yeah.
Yes, this looks awesome.
Don't you like that? I love this kind of conversation.
Yeah, I don't listen to enough podcasts, and this looks like something that would be really interesting and hopefully inspiring.
And I gotta admit, it's like 90% the guest talking. He knows knows how to just let them talk, tell their story, and then they ask at the end, all right, I want to know, Andrew, were you born or made? And that makes them even go like, whoa, I've just told my life story. I don't know. And then they have the conversation of were you born or made? And I love stuff like this. It's great if you're driving. I don't like to listen when I'm actually working. I like it when it's monotonous stuff like driving, you know?
Yes.
Not doing that much.
Driving and listening is the best combo.
Oh my God. Yes. So good. So take a listen, totally free. You don't have to put this on your Amazon checklist. It's available everywhere. So take a listen.
This is literally the worst joke that I've heard, the most dad joke that I've ever heard. This just reminded me of it, though. I was talking to somebody, and they go, I was born ready, and at the age 6, I changed my name to Andrew. It's like, that's a fantastic joke. Yes, I always thought of Spotify as a music platform, not a podcast platform. Oh, yeah, podcasts are all up in Spotify.
They just bought Anchor, which is what we do our podcast on as well. But it's they're making a huge push on that. And they're even going into this whole idea of video podcasts are going to be some new things there.
Yep. Oh, and a really awesome podcast called, there were some letters there. What's this one called? It went away. It was your podcast.
Yes, I think I saw that.
What's your podcast called?
The DGDC.
That's it. Go check it out, everyone. Listen to it. Be inspired. So... My next up, and you guys know I'm a huge fan, and I talk about this literally
I'm just gonna have to watch this now.
Every episode. I know. I'm sorry. I can't stop talking about it. But here's the thing. Yes, I want you to go to YouTube and watch the recording of Sunday in the Park with George. It has Mandy Patinkin and Bernadette Peters. But what I actually want you to do for inspiration is don't watch it. I want you to look up the cast album and listen to it. I think that the first time I listened to it, it's weird because you kind of just like make it in your brain. And so it very much is a show that as you listen to it, it has pretty much the whole show all the way through. You can track the plot lines without having to see it, all that stuff. And you literally start to piece together and understand what's happening. And I love that you like build this thing in your brain. And so if you like Jake Gyllenhaal, there's a version with Jake Gyllenhaal that is newer. And then there is an older version with some other people you probably don't know who they are. So check this out. And the things that I think are interesting about this, it teaches me a lot about design thinking, about what's happening behind the process. What are the things that artists focus on and obsess about, and how can I apply that to my pieces? Emotional intelligence, it's a lot about his relationship with this woman that he loves, but also the art that he loves and how he works through these emotions of being depressed and being overwhelmed and being in love, and works through all of those, but through the lens of art. And then it also gives you creative perspective of just what is his process? How did George Seurat kind of look at things? There's a great song where he's talking about painting, right? This pointillist painting with all the little dots. And he's talking about like, oh, this looks like blue, but I'm making it out of red and orange. And like the idea that his perspective, he doesn't think in what colors are. He thinks about what are the pieces I can put together to make those colors. And so it's very inspiring to just listen to.
Neat.
If you're driving somewhere instead of a podcast, listen to Nick's podcast and then put this on and just like let it happen.
It'll be Saturday with Nick and Sunday with George.
I love that. I love that. Yes, Saturdays with Nick and Sunday with George. Wow, that's perfect. That is so perfect.
Fridays with Nick and Andrew. With Nick and Andrew. Look,
yes,
we got your
both
weekend covered for you guys.
We do.
We got you covered.
You don't need any plans. Yeah. All right. So continuing on, honorable mentions. Nick, what do you got for honorable mentions?
Yeah, I had to mention these. I'm a big fan, obviously, of Brand New Under Consideration. That is one of my favorites. They have gone to a subscription-based one. It's still like dirt cheap.
It's like $20 a year or something, right?
Yeah, it's like $2 a month, $2 or 20 a year. And it is the most in-depth kind of review of any new rebranding or even a new brand just out of nowhere with some studio spotlights. One thing I love about it is there's great commentary. The comments are some of the best stuff you ever see. But
yes,
what's really great too is it not only introduces you to these new projects, but the studio behind it. And a lot of times that now becomes this new, one of my best bookmark lists are agencies and studios that kind of do what I want to do or aspire to do. And so having them on hand all the time and being able to do it, I'm helping build that library with that. Amazing. Identity Designed is a great one, very much like your the one you had mentioned, the Abu, what was it called again? Yeah, same idea, showcasing incredible visual identities from around the world. So you get to see some stuff from other parts of the world. Sometimes I think my best inspiration comes from designers from other parts of the world.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
See, I always Skype in with like some friends of mine that I used to work with that are in the UK. I wanted to see what they're doing and how they do it. They approach things so differently. Fonts and Use is a great one as well, because like 90% of the time I'm always looking for new fonts for specific things. So for inspiration on font, I'll go there because I'm technically thinking of a font going, I remember it in a brand that was probably some retro brand of candy and blah, blah. I'm trying to think, going here, not only will I see it, but I'll probably get a really good match for that font as well.
Yes.
And then the last one I threw in here because we had a great conversation. You know, Bob Ewing, he came to my class over the week. He was showing his field notes and I just laughed because we were both saying, a small, pocketable, disposable, cheap sketchbook is the best inspiration to keep in your back pocket. Because if you have a really nice one, when you open to a fresh new page, you're a little reluctant to do anything because it's like, now I'm committing to this, right? Like you're like, first stroke, like, okay. But this thing, because it's so small and kind of, I don't want to say they're disposable, you know what I mean? They're great little back pocket things. I use these so much now, and I can't wait to see over the years, just having a collection of these. I'm going to keep each one. You can go back and look at it, but we need to be more of this kind of designer and creative by keeping track of these things, doing your little chicken scratch, and that might become the project later down the road.
Yep.
So
I was going to look and see if I had one next to me with some like random stuff in it. But mine are like torn up and folded and like things are taped in them. Yeah. You're just like, I don't know, these are interesting ideas, I guess. Like there's just stuff in here.
I love it. I want to show you, this is a really cool one too. This one is by, and I'll find the name of it, but I didn't realize people like this so much. When you open it up, the pages are magnetic and they come right out.
I'm sorry, what?
So you can, when you sketch, you're always out of order. You maybe start something and then you start something else, and then 4 pages later you continue. You can reposition the pages. You could take a whole section out.
And they're paper?
It's all paper, and there's a little magnet strip on each page, and there's a metal cylinder in the middle.
Do you get like refills for it? Like what happens if you fill it up?
Yes, you
Oh
can.
my
It's called
gosh.
Reconnect. It's REKONECT.
That's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Isn't that great? So
Yes,
it's
dude,
really nice.
Chat's losing their mind.
Magic. And you know what's funny is a good friend of mine is the sales rep for this, and she was like, "Can I send you one?" I'm like, "Sure." I love journals and sketchbooks and whatever. And when she told me it, I was like, "I don't get it." And then I'm showing it, and I'm like, "Oh my god." 1 page, 10 pages, they just come right out.
That's insane.
Witchcraft.
Chat's losing their mind.
Yes.
That's funny. Yeah.
So
I'm
it was
gonna look into that because that's really cool.
Connect.
My brain has left the chat.
Yeah.
That's my favorite comment so far.
Oh my god, that is the best.
That's fantastic. Okay.
All right.
Continuing on, we got about 10 minutes left, so let's keep
do it.
looking at these. Let's talk about personal inspirations. We do have a little bit left, so let's talk and talk through some people that we think are really inspiring. Go ahead and start it out.
Okay, Margot Chase is an incredible designer. She unfortunately, I think, passed away last year. In the LA area, every designer knew her. She did the original stuff for like all of this original CW title treatments for all the networks and stuff. Then she got into entertainment and everything. But this was her style. Her style was, and this wasn't even something I liked, but when you saw this vibe and this style, and she created her own path.
Absolutely.
And it was the first designer for me to see that and go, whoa, like it's not just picking a font and messing around with something and creating a brand identity. She actually is doing things like beautifully from scratch. She started a movement and was incredible. And if you go to the next slide, you see she and her team have now completely gone into full-on brand. They are a complete design group, everything from consumer products and things like that, from Nestle, Pepsi. To see her start from this small one-person studio and now turn herself into this big thing, it's such a great inspiration. She did the Dracula movie. She did all these really incredible stuff. But what an incredible thing to see, because I think you do need to see people you can aspire to for ultimate inspiration. And that's what it was for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Are you familiar with Emigre at all?
Yes.
Okay, so her work is very like Emigre era. Like, they did a bunch of stuff for Taco Bell. They like made a font for Taco Bell that I remember from like this area, like Buffy, like this type style was like a move for a hot minute. None of you were probably alive, but
she was doing all this prior to desktop publishing, Max and Illustrator. So her typography was just so inspiring to look at and be like, I would have never have thought to make an S like that. And just right, those are those things. So like, and I never even got a chance to meet her. She had a great connection with our school, but just a cool inspiration to see her taking it from this point and now being one of like the top agencies, and they live on even past her. So it's pretty, talk about inspiration. But let's get to yours, man.
Okay, so this is gonna be such a rough transition here. So next up, we have one of my biggest inspirations, Jesse Draxler. Oh no, y'all, the chat didn't tell me. I didn't have the screen up. All right, sorry, Margot Chase. Here's the Margot Chase work that we were talking about. I'm so sorry. That very rarely happens, and I was not on my game. So this is Margot Chase. You guys can check that out. Sorry about that. And then down here, we have more Margot Chase, and then we move to Jesse Draxler.
Go for it.
So this is the one and only Jesse Draxler, a fine artist, photographer, collage artist. And Jesse's one of my favorite artists because of the way that like he sees things, right? These are portraits and pictures that you've seen a million times just from like, I don't know, like it's basically student work poses, but then it's taken to a whole new level that just like is so visceral and emotional and tactile that I really connect with this somehow. So Jesse Draxler is by far one of my favorites. Some of the work's really provocative and like challenging, but I love that it makes you think and like get offended at times. I love when people can do that.
That's so cool. Love
yes.
that.
And I realized late that we were supposed to be on slides. Yeah, I agree. I thought we were all just chatting about things together. Yeah, I did too.
That's what we do here.
Yeah. So then another one of mine, and of course we talked about florists. This is my favorite florist. Please go check this out. It's Fresh by Brandon on Instagram. He is literally the best florist I've ever seen in my life. I don't even think that he's a florist. He's like a sculptor.
See, yeah, I mean, technically that's what they're doing. Space, dimension, all that stuff.
Yes.
Arrangement.
Yes.
So cool.
Yeah, and it his work is something that like it reminds me of like Renaissance paintings, and I was interviewing him once and talking to him about like what's your process. So he sketches all of his arrangements before he makes them, and then he makes like coloring sheets out them because he's like, I know what all the flowers look like, because he's really well studied. So he's like, I know what they're going to look like, so I sketch what I want it to be, and then I find the plants to like match that sketch. And I was like, that's totally insane.
Yes.
That's so crazy. And yes, we will be putting this PDF up in our folder right down here, bit.ly/Adobe Office Hours, immediately following this. So you can check all these out and follow up with all of the inspirations.
Excellent.
All right, Nick, Margot Chase. Is this more Margot Chase? This is more Margot Chase. I didn't put them together. That's what happened.
There you go.
All right,
so you're on Simone?
So we are on Simone. And Simone is one of my favorite designers, one of my favorite lettering artists. We had her on Design in the Dark Monday and Tuesday. And the thing about what she does is she takes type and then brings it out into like a tactile zone. So she'll like scan it and photograph it through plastic and like mess it up. And then it's all stuff that is physical. And for someone that has incorporated so much texture into their pieces, being able to like think about it physically has changed my workflow so much.
I want to do this kind of stuff so much more.
Dude, let's do it.
I love that stuff.
Yes.
That's so neat. I remember seeing someone like taking pictures of something being Xeroxed.
Yes.
And the glare and everything pushed out it just turned into like the coolest font. I was like,
yes. Yeah,
I don't experiment at all.
You can do stuff physically that you just can't get digitally. And I'm starting to realize that more and more as I like refine my process and how I like to use texture.
Yeah.
So much of it, if you can get physical, is so much better than just leaving it digital.
Did you do anything where like you lay something on the actual like bed of the scanner, and as it's scanning, you move the paper that has the type printed on it. So you're getting all that funkiness, right?
Oh, Nick. Yes. Yeah. Let's talk about your last inspiration, then I'll show your project.
All right, cool. So I had to include Nick Sr., my dad. Knowing that I had a dad who was a creative, but also a professional, kind of it instilled that very early to me that you can be a graphic designer, an artist, or whatever. And just him being an architect and a designer, and he designed all these buildings that are in my hometown. So it's great to have those as memories of him. And the things he would draw for his mom, he saved a whole sketchbook, and that's one of his things. So like I was looking at the other day, I was like, his typography skills, like he was an architect, yet he was like a graphic artist in the same way, and just such cool stuff. But again, I love that young designers can look now and say, wow, this is a great thing to get into. And I think just knowing that my dad was a creative and made a living out of it, obviously makes you feel a little more comfortable with your choices of being an artist. You know?
Oh yeah. Chat says, aw.
Aww.
And yes, Neville Brody is for sure awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, this is sweet.
100%.
Oh, we're just gonna let this happen for a second. Chat's loving that you included your dad here. Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. So yes, make sure you check these out. And again, we will be uploading this here to bit.ly/Adobe Office Hours. That's really where you can get all of our presentations over the last, I don't know, however long we've been doing this show. This last forever.
We're almost at a
32,
year.
I believe, is what we're on.
Yes.
And Nick, when will we be back? So this is our last episode for a little while. When will we be back?
2 weeks from today, right?
Yes, 2 weeks from today. So next week we are off for Thanksgiving. And what time do we come back, Nick? I like that I just quiz you on things.
We will be, and I know these answers, so keep them coming. We're at 2:30 in 2 weeks, and that's our new time. We're back at 2:30, no longer at 1 o'clock PST, right?
right?
Yes. So December 4th, we are back at that 2:30 slot. I'm hanging out. Kyle Webster will be during this time. So what we want you to do, go right now to social media, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. Find someone who is a creative inspiration to you and tweet at them. Let them know. Send them a DM on Instagram. Let them know. Tag them in something. And just let them know that you are inspired by them and that you're appreciative to them. It is coming up to the Thanksgiving week, so we are giving thanks and thanking the inspirational people that we have in our lives. Nick, do you have anyone that you want to thank? Tag it on.
Gosh, I'm trying to think right now. Like, God, you put me on the spot.
That's
man.
What I do.
I know. God, at this point, I want to. Gosh, I'm so impressed with my students. Them getting through this online class situation and coming through with flying colors. I couldn't be more proud of them. They're killing it right now.
Yes.
So I'm going to thank them. What about you?
Having a teacher thank the students. So my thank is, I think, for Amy and Jen Hood, the Hoodspa sisters.
Love those guys.
They've been helping me out with a bunch of stuff lately, and also just checking in to make sure that everyone's doing good in quarantine and all that stuff. So it's been really fun. So thanks Hood sisters, for checking in and helping me out with all the things that you have. Hopefully you all have a great and healthy Thanksgiving. Stay home. Sorry, parents. Guys. Tell them you're not coming. But other than that, have a great week next week. And say thank you to someone that you love. See you guys.
That's a great idea.
See you next month. Yeah. Bye.
See you in 2 weeks.